Alright everyone, it's time to talk about YouTube's now fairly obvious algorithmic manipulation that's going on. It's definitely affected my channel, although it seems to have affected some people more. I have a feeling that what YouTube has done is install some sort of system that actually goes through the videos and demotes them according to bad language and things like that. I have a feeling that that's what it boils down to. I've been doing a little bit of testing to try to see if that's the fact. It appears to be so. Although it could just be routine changes to their algorithms. Here's the problem. For example, for a while there, if you made multiple uploads a day, the first video that you uploaded would get sent out mostly to people. The notification system more or less worked. It would get more attention, and then it would peter out after the second video, and each subsequent video, fewer people would say they got notified and stuff like that, unless it was a totally tame video and you did it hours later. I don't know how long it takes to reset. I assumed 24 hours. It might be 12. But here, then it flipped, and it became the last video that would get shared out more. And I don't know exactly why this happened, but it seemed that for several weeks there, the final video that you would put on in a day would get shared out to more people. There was a delay. People wouldn't get notified at first. I think that what they were testing is a system where you upload and then people get notified an hour later. I'm assuming is a feature to check for bad content or something, to try to restrict the flow of spam and porn and stuff like that on site, which makes sense. And I think they've reversed it now and they've put it back the same way. There are definitely major changes to search. There have been glitches lately, YouTube has had buffering issues for the first time in 5 or 6 years sporadically, and each time this happens, it seems some change is made to the site. For instance, when you search for current events of any kind, any sort of significant news, you no longer see somebody like me on the front page unless you are deliberately searching for me. Instead, you see a bunch of priority creator results, CNN, Fox News, things like that. That's one way of throttling people in the alt media, which I think is totally goes against what YouTube was founded for in the first place. It doesn't really make sense because that content gets less engagement anyway. It is simply less efficient. Yes, we independent creators are more efficient, more interesting, and get far higher engagement totals than CNN or than Fox News. As far as subscriber to subscriber, the engagement level's probably 2 or 3 times what they're getting. I don't know why they're being favored other than to try to appease them to keep them from making too many hit pieces about content on YouTube. It's basically an appeasement. Well, I think appeasement is always a bad idea because you always end up giving more and more until you can't give anything more, and then you get thrown out with the garbage, basically. That's the way YouTube, unfortunately, has decided to head. Now, before people say, well, Sticks, you're just getting boring and so you're getting less engagement, I can look at my analytics on literally any other site, and that's not the case. Still growing the same way. Everything's still operating exactly as before on every other site. That includes Daily Motion and shit. Daily, or a DTube, which I've stopped using. I've stopped uploading to it anyway. Book sales, the flow of material on Minds or Gab, it's all exactly the same as before. The engagement on my blogs. The only exception is YouTube. It's literally the only site on which there's been a slowdown, and it came at a certain exact time when there were a bunch of glitches on YouTube. It looked like, the analytics-wise, it looked like view counts and things were getting a little bit wonky, and I'm not the only person that noticed this change, so I'm going to assume that I'm right when I suspect this. It's unfortunate, really, because YouTube, think about the U in YouTube, it doesn't refer to some corporate entity, some fucking corporate brand or anything like that. Originally, YouTube was literally just private individuals. There was no profit motive at all, and then money started coming in, and I suppose things changed a little bit. And that's why, as always, I have links in the description to this and every other video to all sorts of other sites that I use. If you're not following me on one or more of them, you're not getting regular notifications at this point. That's why I have a fucking Twitter account. I wouldn't have even made one in the first place. I've stopped posting quite as much there. It's sort of wearing off in its usefulness, but I did that initially as a notification machine. That's why there was a Facebook group. I'm thinking about the possibility of having to get an Instagram or something. Literally. Content creation is becoming more competitive. It's becoming more centralized. And therefore, in order to fight back against that, you have to diversify yourself into more types of content and simply do more. Now, thankfully, that's all entertaining stuff. I have a problem with it when people complain too much. Like, I'm complaining about algorithmic manipulation, but I'm not complaining about, like, oh, it's so much work to make YouTube videos. No, not really. Tim Pool does have it right, though. There is a little bit of a frenetic lifestyle associated with being a content creator. He's like, well, what did his post say? Like, if you want to become a YouTube star, just don't sleep, work 16 hours a day, and be, like, crazy and stuff. Yeah, that's definitely true. And he makes more videos than I do. There aren't many people that make multiple videos a day, by the way. That sort of non-live format is less common over time, and I think takes, ironically, possibly more skill. To do that unscripted especially, like I know he probably has notes up, but he's not using a teleprompter or anything, and we're sitting there talking for 30, 40 minutes every single day, day in and day out, and then we get, algorithmically manipulated on these sites. Like, definitely you should follow my work on BitChute. It just makes sense. And if you're not using some combination of Twitter or Gab/Dissenter, mine certainly, you're not getting the full story from anyone that you're following. I don't know why there are still content creators that don't use all of these sites. It's like, some of these people, they have people that manage their content for them. Well, then pile on a couple of alt tech sites and give them an extra $1 an hour or something. It'll pay off long term. Get your own website going. Yeah, it'd be a little bit difficult for those that are more low tech. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, I'm gonna have no choice but to have a smartphone soon anyway for business reasons. So what the hell? Why not have an Instagram page? I know I can take pictures of my shitty plants or something like that. It's like it's no longer just being, sadly, it's no longer just being a YouTuber at this point. And YouTube's doing its best to try to appease a bunch of corporations, a bunch of morons that hate YouTube and ridiculed it for years and fought against them. Finally, they're like, okay, they throw their hands up, but we want a seat at the table. We will make or break you. We'll defame you out of existence by saying that there's a non-existent problem with extremism on your platform. We'll get you investigated by the government. And again, like I've said, the fear is always worse than the thing to be feared. So YouTube should keep that in mind. Basically, it's like an elephant being frightened of a mouse. YouTube could fucking stomp these people out of existence. Just mobilize your content creators. Say, look, we're being harassed constantly by people who say that this is a platform of extremism. Do hashtag happy YouTube and make a video about how they're full of shit. Why don't you do something like that? It could work. 1 million people would do it. Yeah, that'd get in the news, and then they'd try to fight back against it, and they'd have a fucking army of fucking everyone under the sun on YouTube. Liberalists and clankers and the Sweetie Squad and everything else. It'd be a huge dumpster fire. And they would lose. Be funny. YouTube should kick CNN off its platform. No, you spread propaganda, so we're just going to kick you off. No more BBC. Fuck off. You're going to make copyright complaints against creators and shit. Get off the platform then. That's about all. Peace out.